This past week, I read an article written by a gentleman by the name of Craig Groeschel. Craig, Elder Highball, attended the Disciples Seminary, Phillips Theological in Oklahoma, and later went on to start a great and growing church in Oklahoma City. Craig wrote this article, and in the article he confirmed some stuff that I already knew. For example, people today are not rejecting God as much as they are rejecting the rules that come with organized religion. Craig, that's what he says in the article. People are not walking away from God as much as they are walking away from the organized church. For Craig in the article talked about how people today are walking away from the traditional aspects of church and religion, or business as usual. Craig said that people are opting out of that legalistic aspect of the church. So a lot of the article I read, I was already aware of. A lot of the article and a lot of the things that Reverend Groeschel speaks about, I was somewhat aware of. But then he said something that spoke to me. He said this. He said, we have to become who God says we are. Mr. Groeschel, Reverend Groeschel, the pastor of the Life Church in Oklahoma City, said we have to become who God says we are instead of who others say that we are. In other words, we have to discover something about us that makes us unique and different from everyone else. We have to discover something within us, within this church, that makes us unique, makes us powerful, makes us free, and makes us different from everyone else. So I read the article, then I read our Eastertide scripture, and it made me see that nothing about where the disciples were on their journey said, I'm unique, or I'm different, or I'm free. For the fact is, on the first night after Jesus was raised from the dead, the text says on that night, the disciples are locked behind closed doors out of fear. It says that they are locked behind closed doors because of fear. It seems that fear had a grip on their hearts because of what they saw on Friday. And so their locked doors are a reaction to what they have experienced. And the reaction was to shut down and to stay behind closed doors. Stay behind those closed doors instead of rising above what went down and using it as a means to become better believers and more determined disciples. For the disciples are case studies on how vulnerable and fragile we are to life. For they proved that they were not as faithful, as free, or as unique, or as different as they thought they were. And they even write in their books, in the Gospels, that they were not there when Jesus needed them. They write it, they put it in print. They write it in their autobiographies that they were not who they thought they were. And I, for one, I appreciate their candor. I'm grateful that they did not find it necessary to rewrite history and mislead the public on their records. It's refreshing to find church folk who are willing to be transparent for a change. It's a breath of fresh air to find saints who will share their stories, who will tell the truth, who will put it out there that what you see now has not always been. I thank God that these are some real church folk that don't hold anything back. They just tell you, that I got scared and I ran. They tell you, they put it in print that they hid and that they denied him. They put it in print, y'all. They tell you that when they tried to put the crucified Christ in their circle, they cussed the ones out that said that they were his followers. And I, for one, I appreciate the fact that they were honest about who they really were. They did not hide behind facades and fake pretense. According to Mr. Groeschel, the problem with the church today is that we have become too proud to tell who we really are. Because too many in the church today are more concerned about what people think about them and what people are going to say about them than being honest and transparent about who we really are. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why many are not as forthcoming about our shortcomings, because we're afraid that if we tell the truth about some of the things that we have done, that we won't be accepted. And the truth of the matter is, if you're honest about some of the things that have happened to you in your life and people can't handle it, that's a sign that you do not need them in your life anyway. If they're not going to accept you for who you are, you're better off without them anyway. Better off being true to yourself than living a lie. As I think about it, it's sad that we would allow our self-conscious to keep us from being forthcoming about how the Lord has delivered us out of some things. Because the truth of the matter is, none of us are perfect. We've all sinned. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. We've all slipped and had trouble getting back up. For we, like the disciples, need to tell our full stories. One of the reasons, according to Mr. Groeschel, that there are more people at home on Sunday than are at church in America is because the reputation of the church is that we're not who we say we are. We say one thing on Sunday and then we live another way throughout the week. But when you can be transparent and tell the truth that your life has not always been angelic, but the Lord came behind your closed locked doors and got you. And when you can stand and say, if the Lord came and got me, guess what, brother? Guess what, sister? He can come and get you also. Am I on anybody's street this morning? We've got to be honest and real and transparent.